everybody.
Hey, what's going on, guys?
I am Janae Strother.
I'm Sean Spencer.
Back.
We are back.
We are back, ladies and gentlemen.
I gotta go out and hold up.
Come on. The line. The line. New music, so funny. Kirk Cousins.
Yeah.
What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? It's your boy, live back again. One half of that dynamic duo that is Let's Talk Football, ladies and gentlemen. And I'm here with my guy. I'm here with Mr. Impersonations himself, Anthony Handy.
Hey,
what up, Anthony?
What's going on, man? Do not promise me a good time and not follow through, because I guarantee you I will get you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Hey, and ladies and gentlemen, you see what we're wearing? You know, I know you're used to us wearing other things, but we're talking college football today, baby. So we got to go with the teams that we rep. You know, I got that baby blue, that Tar Heel blue, Raleigh, North Carolina, Chapel Hill in the building.
Take your shirt off, you twist it around your head, been like a helicopter.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And my guy, UGA, UGA.
You bet. Go dogs, sick them.
Let's go. Welcome to Let's Talk College Football, ladies and gentlemen. Hey, it's long overdue. We've been trying to do it for the last couple of weeks, but ladies and gentlemen, the both of us have been grinding, working our butts off in a lot of other different fields, you know, doing whatever we can do. But we had to get this together, and I got to shout out my guy, Nicholas Rosario.
Hold on a
second. Be with us.
Hold on a second. It's called paying bills. That's what it's called. Hey. We're working to pay the bills and keeping our ladies happy.
Come on now. Absolutely. Absolutely. I did a little bit of that yesterday, missing my Redskins, my basketball team.
Look,
we ain't gonna go down that road.
Listen, wait a minute. Hold on. I gotta back them up a bit. For those of you that didn't catch the last episode of the Roundtable, no, it was watching the Football Weekly.
Yeah.
It was on Wednesday night, and Poshawn, his face, you could just tell it was like the dog just took away his favorite toy. It's like, yeah, so the fiance and I, we gotta go over to we gotta go see the Baltimore Orioles. You know, the Baltimore Orioles been sucking for years, but
yeah,
going this game with the missus. He's smiling the whole time. Smiling the whole time. They've been sucking the whole time, but then it's a concert after that, and then she jumped in on the comment section like, but it's a concert afterwards. Right. This is my favorite band. You get date night with me, and I get to see my favorite band, so it's a bonus. And he's like, yeah, but I'm missing that game though.
Just shaking my head. Just absolutely.
I just wanted to jump in the comment section and say, blink once for yes and blink twice for no. If you need,
right. hey, but like a true football fan, I definitely had the earbud in the ear, sitting there listening to it. And and it's funny, man, because when I was getting excited about it and I was getting hyped, and then at one point they made the winning kick, and I'm starting to yell, and it was right when the band and everybody went quiet. So I'm the only one like, let's go, Ryan.
You were like Prince Akeem at the basketball game. Yes. What are you doing, man? It's halftime. This is my favorite part of the game.
Right.
Put it in your face.
Yo, but we got to bring in this college football, ladies and gentlemen. We definitely want to do it. Hey, like we said, we are 2 weeks in, ladies and gentlemen. Actually, as a matter of fact, as we are going live, talking right now, Louisville is playing University of Central Florida. Louisville is up 28-21, led by Malik Cunningham. Pretty solid QB. I don't know how high up on the list he's going to be, dual threat guy, but definitely watch out for them. And Maryland and Illinois are in the second quarter right now. So, ladies and gentlemen, definitely go check out those games. Huh?
I'm curious to know the score on that one right there, because Illinois definitely made a name for themselves by embarrassing. Double zeros, okay.
Double zeros, yeah.
Oh, okay. I was like, where's the score? He's like, it ain't none.
No, nothing. Nada. In the second quarter, too. So
that's interesting. Leave nothing. Anyway, Yeah, because they made a name for themselves by really embarrassing the Cornhuskers of Nebraska. We'll get into that a little bit later.
Oh yes, and shout out to Maryland getting that dub in Week 1 against West Virginia. West Virginia team that I had high expectations for. Shout out to my fiance and her parents. Her parents live in West Virginia. Die hard, absolute die hard Mountaineers. Everybody out there looks like a Mountaineer. You know, shout out to them, but they've been struggling.
Careful now, these are your future in-laws. Everybody out there looks like a Mountaineer. What exactly does he mean by that? I don't know.
It's like, wait a minute.
Wait a minute, you're not just gonna brush past that. Like,
right. Come on back. But look, hey, ladies and gentlemen, reason we're trying to talk about some of these other teams is because, in our minds, there's competition in college football. But let's be very honest. Unless you're living under a rock, there is only one team that runs and has run the collegiate world for the past 10 plus years. And that is the
12.
Crimson Tide. 12. Yeah. That is the Crimson Tide of Alabama. It's Alabama and the rest of college football. Anthony.
You know how I feel about that, given the fact that my beloved dogs are in the same conference.
I understand that.
But listen, game recognized game. Like it, love it, or hate it. Don't care if you love them. Don't care. That sounds like a segment I saw on another show with a dude that looked just like you. Like it, love it, or hate it. No matter what way you flip the coin, there's no denying that Nick Saban took that program and brought it all the way back to the prominence of the Bear Bryant years. Right? When Bear Bryant was coach at Alabama, it was basically Alabama. Then Texas would get one here. Nebraska would get one there. Oklahoma would get one there. But it was basically Alabama, and it's just like cool in the gang. It was like Alabama in the gang,
and the rest. Now look. You mentioned like it, love it, hate it. So I mean, like it, love it, or hate it.
I can't be mad at it. I'm dog. UGA till I die, my friend. But Alabama has definitely been the preeminent. That's my $175 SAT word for the day. Today.
Preeminent, right?
Today's password is. It's been the preeminent college football program in Division I since Nick Saban took over. Okay, they have. Let's see. I'm looking here. They've got 6 national championships in the last 12 years. For a frame of reference, Alabama has not gone more than 3 seasons without winning a national championship since 2009. Since Nick won the first one in 2009, 09, 2011, 2012, 15, 17, and 20. And they also, I believe, appeared in a couple more. I don't think they won them all, but they appeared in a couple more. So they played. They seriously, is it any there's no irony lost in the fact that Nick Saban, one of the guys that looks up to Nick Saban is Bill Belichick,
right?
Who in the pro football world,
they're buddies.
Who in the pro football world has been the exact equivalent. You have seen the Patriots in the Super Bowl about every 3 years since 03.
Yeah.
And even last year, even though they weren't in the Super Bowl, a guy who was a product of that program was in the Super Bowl and won another ring.
So and that's interesting, but that's interesting though, because then they ask the question: is it the player or is it the system? Now, because the reason why I say that is because you mentioned how Alabama has been a powerhouse for the last decade plus. Okay, and we already know three of the former Alabama quarterbacks are in the league starting right now. 2 are from Miami, Mac Jones for New England, and Philly has Jalen Hurts. So is it the quarterback? Is it the system? Because Bryce Young has come in and just picked up right where they left off.
It's a testament to both, and I tell you why. Now, there's an old saying that old folks talk about taking you can't make sugar from something else. But Nick Saban has proven that if you take somebody with talent and you properly hone that talent, because they already had to be talented to even make the squad, and they had to be that much more talented to win the starting jobs. At Alabama, they don't just put you on because they like you. Nebraska, Adrian Martinez. Did I say that out loud? My Tourette's is acting up. Anyway, I'm gonna roll that back. We'll talk about that in a minute. You can't just like Nick Saban does not play anybody less than he doesn't put anybody less on the field than his very best players. Period. So they got to be talented. Right. But not only and then there's the third thing is success. People want to be around success. People want to be around a successful program. That's why I don't have the stats in front of me. I'm almost 100% certain that Alabama can go in Alabama. Nick Saban could go to Tonga and get some kid to come play for him. That's how good their recruiting program is. And because they've been so successful, because Nick Saban is a good coach, and because the program just keeps winning over and over and over again, it's gotten to a point where it's almost like Field of Dreams. If you build it, they will come. Nick has built it. Yeah, and now kids just want to go to Alabama.
They do.
It's Nick Saban.
They do. And it's funny that I'm glad you mentioned that, because it's funny. Some of the players that sit on the bench, we look at Mac Jones and how high he got taken off of the in the draft. We look at Tua Tagovailoa, how high he got taken. Now he had that game where he won the national championship, and then he had the year after, but he was on the bench for a while and he got picked up. The guys, the training, the things that they get, it keeps moving it. And now you've seen the quarterback situation, but we've already known Alabama was known for one position mainly, and that's wide receiver. We know about Calvin Ridley. We know about Julio. We know about, these big name guys, Devontae Smith, Jalen Waddell, all these guys that are coming out that are elite talented receivers.
And NFL and have NFL elite talents.
Right.
In college.
Right.
To answer your question, Nate.
I saw that. Yeah.
Why are there a high number of transfers still? I'll tell you. Well, I don't really see a lot of you don't hear a lot of press about transfers out.
Here, I will let me answer that real quick. So the reason why there are a high number, if there are, I agree that you don't hear a lot about them. But the thing about it is, nowadays, it used to be, and Andy, I know you can vouch for me, you could speak for me when I say this. It used to be, if you got on a team and you weren't the starter and you had a Herschel Walker, a Bo Jackson in front of you, well, you had to wait till they left, and then you could play. You look at Barry Sanders. He didn't get in until his junior year, and he had to be kick returner because Thurman Thomas was in there before, and he didn't transfer. The transfer portal wasn't as prevalent as is right now. Nowadays, if you are not starting, a lot of these guys go elsewhere, and they have the freedom to do it. That's why it's kind of like free agency, Nate. It's more prevalent now because there is more. It's more of a availability. It's more of an opportunity.
Right.
You agree with that?
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. The thing about Alabama is Nick Saban has built a program that these kids believe in so much, and they know, and it has been proven. The 2021 draft, 65 players out of Alabama. They had the highest number of players drafted. 65. The next closest was 42, and I think that was Ohio State, if I'm not mistaken. But Nick Saban has built a program that's like, if you come here and you trust my process and you work hard and you bust your hump, when the slot opens, I'll put you in it. You might be a quarterback. I'll have you be a kick holder until we get a quarterback slot open. I will put you at quarterback, and you will leave here, and you will get drafted.
Yeah, and that's the point.
Not only will you get drafted, you will get drafted very high. Jalen. Matter of fact, out of the three quarterbacks you mentioned, there was a big debate today on the local sports franchise here as to who was the better quarterback, because they talked about the three of them. It was last week. Who was the best quarterback out of the three of them to come out of Oklahoma? And shockingly, even though he came here his graduate year and played and almost led them to a national championship and was a Heisman finalist, they said Jalen was the least talented, because he was more of a run. He was more of a run first. Like he hit the first read, hit the second read, instead of going back to the first read. If there's nothing there, he'd take off running. But Nick Saban doesn't put any foolishness on his field. As you can see, he pulled Jalen to put in Tua to win the championship. But when he left, he had nothing but high praise for Coach Saban. And he's built that kind of program where these kids are willing to sit. I think that every place else, I'm gonna be honest with you, Nate. Look around the college world, the college football world, and see what some of these guys are dealing with. I mean, you had Wanye Morris, which was one of the most highly sought after offensive linemen in the country, wound up going to the University of Tennessee. He's here in Oklahoma playing now. He's like, I've had enough.
Well, and the thing about it is, there wasn't an ability to do that before. A lot of these guys had to stay on the team. Nowadays, if you're not starting, a lot of these guys go to the big name school and then they realize where they have been Mr. World, Mr. Everything in their local town, their local city for as long as they can remember, you're now third or fourth. That messes with a lot of guys.
Small fish in the big pond. And I know exactly who we can throw in that conversation. Tate Martell.
Yeah.
Ohio State. I forgot where he went. He was at Ohio State. He was slated to be the starter. But then they gave the job to Haskins. And then he was slated to be the starter after Haskins left. But then he found out that Justin Fields was coming and he went in the transfer portal. And then he went someplace else. And then he couldn't play there, and then he went in the transfer portal. I think the reason that I'm gonna tell you, I'll put this, and this is a whole different animal, and then we will get up off of it because we might make some folk mad, but it just needs to be said. We have the current generation of young men that is playing football right now is part of the first generation where parents were like, "You can do this, and you're the best at whatever it is. You're the best, and blah blah blah, and you can do this." And they never tell them anything different. And so, like you said, small town guy happened to be the best quarterback in Bug Tussle, Mississippi, as a high school player. But then he gets to Alabama on a scholarship because he had these crazy stats. And then he finds out, wow, the best of the best from everywhere are here.
Right.
And instead of going either A, I need to work and get better at what I do, or B, maybe I should find another position to play. Because case in point, Hines Ward was a quarterback. Refresh my memory. What position was Hines Ward playing when he retired from football and was inducted in the Hall of Fame?
Receiver, right?
Instead of saying I need to find another position to play and be good at that, or just find out how to be a contributor to the team, I don't want to stay here because they won't let me do what I want to do.
Right.
Now, it's not everybody, but I can guarantee you that's the case with a lot of these guys.
Right.
Martell even said they're going to start. I got all faith that I'll be able to play, because he put up a tweet and then he deleted it. I got all faith that I'll be able to play. No way they're going to start a guy that hasn't been here and hasn't put in the work. It's not even the Ohio State guy. And then Justin Fields showed up and he's like, oh, snap, dude's good. I'm at y'all. Peace. I'm going over here. Right. Exactly what happened. So
that's the thing. That's the thing. And yes, I do think some guys, to Nathan's question, I do think some guys do go to Alabama for the name, but talent supersedes all of that. So if you're that good, you'll play at Alabama or anything. But if you're not that good and you have 4 or 5 other guys ahead of you, you can go to a smaller school. You can go to a school in the MAC conference. You can go to school in the HBCU. You know what I mean? And get playing time and dominant, be a Steve Air McNair, and then get recognized that way. There's a lot more little schools getting looked at nowadays. But as a part of the transfer.
Yeah, but talent, like you said, talent supersedes all. I watched Shannon Sharp play his college ball when I was in school. Shannon was a grown man playing football with a bunch of little boys.
Right.
I mean, Shannon was literally off the line, 2 yards off the line. He already had 6 steps on his cover dude. All the quarterback had to do was just drop back. He'd just take the ball. He didn't even go through his reads. If Shannon was over here to the left, he'd step back, look Shannon's way, launch the ball. Shannon was going to run under it. Yeah. You understand what I'm saying? So talent does supersede all. But to answer Nathan's point, yes. Like, it's just like if you know what I'm saying, if you got the money to go to Harvard to get a college education, by all means, go to Harvard to get a college education. Because when you go and apply for a job, and and the guy next to you went to McNeese State, and the guy sitting on the other side of you went to the University of Georgia, and the guy sitting behind you went to Georgia Southern University, mind you, all three excellent schools. Your degree says Harvard University, which means that the first thing they'll go is, all right, we're gonna put that one in the callback pile. I mean, you literally have to go in there and fall on your feet to not get that job. So yes, I do believe a lot of guys go to, and then on top of that, Alabama, you go to Alabama, the SEC right now has the absolute best exposure network. They got to deal with, I don't know if they still have to deal with CBS, but they had to deal with CBS, but now they're on ESPN. The biggest conference in college football is on the biggest sports network on the face of the planet. If you play for the SEC, even if you play for Vanderbilt, somebody's going to see you on TV playing.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
And shout out to Cameron watching, saying the transfer portal is hurting college sports, basketball and football. Kids don't have the tough mentality. They don't want to work. Yeah, exactly. It's to your point, Anthony, that this is a generation coming up where the parents are saying, hey, you know, you've been good. You're great at everything. You know, you don't have to take this. You can go elsewhere, X, Y, and Z. And it is that way.
Why their kids aren't playing? Why is my kid not playing?
Well, right, and that's very prevalent, especially in the little league sports, and you're seeing it with a lot of these refs not playing. But at the same time, like we said, thanks Nathan and Cam for those comments. Like we said, talent supersedes it. Will, heart, desire supersedes it. System supersedes it. If you are able to play up to your ability any given Saturday, you can make it happen. And a lot of these guys go elsewhere because they don't want to be a part of a stud team. They want to make the team. They want to make you hear about John Morant going to college basketball, who went to a Murray State, could have gone to a big name school, but went to smaller schools so he could actually get the playing time, get the tutelage, all the things he needed, and actually get the experience. So I guess the question to me is, you have Alabama as the best team. You have Alabama as the cream of the crop, okay? Can anybody beat Alabama?
The answer to that question is unequivocally yes. It's just the last 10 years it's got to be a thing with the stars aligning, you know what I mean? We saw it 2 years ago when the Tigers went on their just obliterated everything in their path down at LSU, down in Baton Rouge. They beat Alabama. Georgia, even in the 2007, it was actually 2018, coming out of the 2017 season, Georgia actually had Alabama on the ropes and was a mere 20 seconds away from winning their first national championship in almost 40 years. Yeah. So they can be beaten. It's just like Rocky IV when they was fighting when Rocky was fighting Drago. He's like, see, he's not a machine. He's human. You can beat him. And
right.
In the other corner.
But this year, they can be beaten, yes. But can they be beaten this year?
Can they be beaten this year? Well, I definitely think there are some teams. I think there's some teams that can beat Alabama. At least.
Hold up, man. Hold up, because I think Nathan's playing games here. I asked, can they be beaten? This man bringing out Maryland. Hold up, Nathan. You want this? Hold up, Nathan.
Wait a minute. Stop it, Skip.
Hold up.
That make me crazy.
Come on, brother.
Stop it, Skip. Listen, Skip. Listen, Skip. Nathan. I want to come and talk to you. You brought. I didn't want to bring Shay here today. But you was using words like, Sean, can you please let me know what words like rolling and falling and stalling and holding, what they all have in common?
And all in.
No. They all got L's in them, double L's on top of that. Brother Nathan, if you don't stop it, you just rolled out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You just rolled out 5 big flaming hot L's for Alabama. Now, I will say this. I got to get out of character because I do that all night. I will say this. We have a segment we're going to get into a little bit later about marquee matchups. I'm interested to see what Florida can do with Alabama. And I tell you this why. Why is that? Because the top two teams on the eastern side of the Southeastern Conference for the last 20 years have been the Dogs and the Gators. And then we just flip-flop with each other in the East every year. And I don't know. I don't really know what they're dealing with right now. They are 2-0, but they lost Trask to the draft, and he was a big catalyst. Pitts is now in Atlanta, where he's more than likely going to become an afterthought for 6 years until he gets traded off somewhere, and then he's going to ball out, which is typically what happens when people come to play for my Falcons. But that's another story for Let's Talk Football. We talking college football. But yeah, Atlanta is getting a whole bunch of them L's. That's why when they called me and they said, come play for Atlanta, it's in Savannah, I said, nope. I'm going to have a whole bunch of L's, and I'm going to go somewhere where I'm going to win a Super Bowl trophy, which is exactly what he did. Ironically, that's where he got his first Super Bowl, beating the Falcons with the Broncos. Anyway, I do think Florida has a good shot. If just looking at the top 10, I'm just going to go top 10. I think Georgia has a shot. I think Florida has a shot. But to be completely honest, I think the teams that have the best bet at beating Alabama are in the SEC. I would say if Trevor Lawrence and Travis Etienne were still at Clemson, I would say Clemson because I believe Clemson won a championship. Didn't they beat? Who did they beat to win the championship? You remember?
It was I think it was Bama. I know it was Bama one year, but I think it was Ohio State another year.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. They beat Bama, but I don't know if this Clemson can beat Bama. DJ Ukulele, I don't think is going to be able to beat Bama. I'm not so sure about Oregon. Oklahoma, if Oklahoma's hitting on all cylinders, they could potentially, but their defense is a little sus. So honestly, I think the team
defense is suspect.
I think the teams that have the best bet at beating the Crimson Tide are coming out of the SEC. It's either going to be Georgia in the SEC championship or Florida. Even if Florida doesn't beat them tomorrow, if they run the table after that and go and beat us, which absolutely not, y'all can forget about it. Any Gator fan watching this, keep dreaming. That ain't happening. But in a dream world, if you was dreaming and it happened and Florida won the East, I think Florida could beat Alabama in the SEC championship. Those are the only two teams. Those are the only two teams.
Yeah, I see. I can see it. And shout out to Florida. They're playing them this Saturday. Number 11 ranked Florida is playing number 1 Alabama. So I think that's going to be a high scoring game. And also, I got to agree. Georgia, number 2 Georgia, who's getting 3 of the 63 total number 1 votes. So Georgia's getting a little bit of love. That offense is going to have to. And offense is going to have to definitely show up in that type of matchup. But Georgia and Alabama normally play really good matchups. Honestly, I kind of agree with you. I think Auburn is one of those teams that they always seem to kind of get Alabama.
Auburn gets
sometimes at the right time.
Auburn gets hyped for the Iron Bowl. The kick six game stands out to me. Auburn always gets hyped for Iron Bowl. It doesn't matter if Auburn is middle of the road; they will still at least show up, and even if it's just for one half of football, whether it's the first half or the second half, will show up and punch Nick Saban and the boys in the mouth a little bit. Right. So that's always a fun game to watch. So that's my potential third team that could beat Alabama.
But to your point, it's SEC. It's SEC. I don't think there's anything out of the SEC that really could stand the test with Alabama, at least this year. Like you said, last year, had we been talking about Clemson? Have we been talking about some of these big name squads that had the caliber of players they had last year? Maybe we'll see.
Absolutely. Because it happened. Like I said, it's not like Alabama has won a national championship every single year since Nick Saban was at Alabama. Right. And there being some they've won 6 championships since 2009. And I think they played in at least 3 more games. I think they played in 9 national championship games in the last 12 years. So that means 75%, if I got the numbers right. 75% of the number, 70, if I got the numbers right, they played in 75% of the national championship games, or at least in the playoffs for the last 12 years. Like Alabama has always been right there in the thick of things. So that's a testament to what he's done. So
most definitely. So, and you've seen like how Clemson, how Dabo Swinney has kind of mimicked that and brought that kind of talent in. But like you saw this year against you guys, DJ Ukulele. I don't know, it's like ukulele.
It's ukulele or something like that. But I said
he couldn't
disrespect DJ if you watching this.
Right. He couldn't get over that hump. And that team, albeit they had a stout defense, that offense looked very pedestrian. Very, very pedestrian. And then no credit taken away from the Georgia defense, but when you have the mentality of the Alabamas, like Clemson has been the last several years, you expect next man up. Because like you said, you're not starting just some joker. You're not starting some guy that's not capable of playing. Most guys that are able to start at the Alabamas and the Clemson are able to start most other places in the country. So
it was just like I was talking about Adrian Martinez at Nebraska. Yeah. I don't know what it is with Scott Frost. He's got the steaming undies for Adrian Martinez, and Adrian Martinez is good for one of two things. He's either going to overthrow you or underthrow you. The only thing that he has been able to do that is productive is if coverage breaks down, if the line breaks down, and he can pull the ball and take off running. That's the only thing. As a matter of fact, the commentators were saying earlier today, that's the one thing that Oklahoma needs to look out for. Because if he takes off running, he might do some damage. But even then, he's only going to be able to do that so many times before they adjust.
Exactly. And unfortunately, he's not playing defense. And Oklahoma, along with most other Big 12 teams, have had historically poor defense, especially against high-powered offenses. That's one of the reasons why I didn't say Oklahoma is one of these teams that I feel like could beat Alabama, because Spencer Rattler is cool and everything, and I like him. Shout out to him. We'll talk about him and players to watch for. But I definitely don't think that he's somebody. Even with him having an amazing game, that defense, albeit a solid defense, I don't think is going to hold its own against in Alabama. And I got to shout out David Wright watching. He said, I heard Tebow's going back to Florida to play left tackle. So I think they have the edge. So I wouldn't doubt. I wouldn't doubt Tebow can go back there, start, coach, cheerlead, do whatever he wants to do over there in Jacksonville. So I shout him out, because he got some free time right about now. But
because you couldn't tell him he wasn't going to be playing football.
Oh yeah, he's going to play some type of way, some type of place. He's going to definitely play. Some other notable teams that maybe, I don't know, we'll see. We'll go out there and take a look at number 8, Cincinnati. I mean, it's always difficult to look at like an AAC school or one of these schools that's not a powerhouse. You have obviously Ohio State, even though they did take the L.
Wait, hold on. Let me back up. Did you say Cincinnati? Are we still talking about teams that can beat Alabama?
Oh yeah. Oh yes. Yes.
You seriously think the Bearcats can beat the Crimson Tide?
Any given day. I think they can put a good first 3 quarters. I think the talent will eventually spread up, but I believe in Ritter. I believe in that quarterback. They have a team that has been together for some years, and that's what's going to take. It's going to take a team that's been together for a good amount of years, that have had starters that have started for 2, 3, 4 years, to go up against a team like this Alabama. Because right now, honestly, Alabama is the most vulnerable they're probably going to get. Because they got guys that have, first-year guys, albeit dominating, they're still younger type guys that haven't had the real experience, and they haven't played anybody. I mean, Miami, we still have yet to see what Miami really is. Shout out to De'Aaron King, but we still don't know what they are, and they got crushed 44-13. And then Alabama played Mercer. So, we really don't know how tough Alabama is. They really haven't played serious competition. So, who knows?
Seriously, Cincinnati? Listen, I'm not knocking Cincinnati. Cincinnati, for that conference, is a stud program in that conference.
I understand.
But that's like me, you, Ab, Nathan, Will, Nick, and Delilah being the baddest pickup basketball team at the YMCA down in Reston. Yeah, but then we go down there into Chinatown and go over to the Capital One Arena and try to suit up against the Wizards and get run off the court.
Very true. Hey, look, I completely agree. Hey, look, I see what you're saying. And all intents and purposes, Alabama would probably blow them out the water. But what I'm saying is, if we're talking about teams this year that could potentially be in the conversation, in my mind, it has to be a team that's played together for several years. They have a veteran QB. Cincinnati is one of those type of teams. I don't believe in Ohio State. I don't believe in Notre Dame. I don't believe in Michigan. I don't believe in some of these other teams.
Nathan Snell, if you don't stop it right now, you did not. He the Nathan the sock right there. You see what he put in the comments.
You don't want this smoke, boy. Nate, go ahead, man.
You gonna make Shay go need to go get his asthma medication. Don't even do me like that. Question: you got the comments enabled on the YouTube? I got some people pinging me saying they can't get in on the chat on the YouTube.
Yeah, I'm getting comments. I'm mainly just seeing Nathan over here in the comments. I have on my phone.
It's the super chat button or something like that. You have to open it in the YouTube app. My homeboy Colin, he's also a fellow University of Georgia fan. You have to open it in the YouTube app, and then you'll be able to chat in the comment section. You can't just go to youtube.com. Those of you that are watching right now, thank you so much for joining us this week for the premiere episode of Let's Talk College Football. I am Anthony Handy, a.k.a. Mr. Fingaz, the former Mad Karaoke DJ of Northern Virginia, Maryland, and D.C., along with my illustrious, well, actually, he's the host and I'm the co-host, Mr. The Shout-Out King, Let's Go, Sean Spencer, the founder of the whole family of Let's Talk Football podcasts. You can also catch Washington Football Weekly, the Big Nate podcast, Let's Talk Football, and the Roundtable, all in the family of Let's Talk Football. So, yeah. But so as far as Alabama is concerned, I honestly think to wrap this thing up in a bow, because we've been talking Alabama now. We're 40 minutes into the show. We still talking Crimson Tide. I think I'd be hard pressed to see anybody outside. There he is. He's in. Go Dogs. Thank you, Colin. Mm-hmm. I'd be hard pressed to say anybody outside of the SEC would be able to get by Bama. And oh, by the way, if you're watching right now, whether you're watching live on Facebook, whether you're watching live on YouTube, whether you're listening live on the Zagnif One Radio Network, because we are live right now on the Zagnif One Radio Network. But if you're watching on any of those two platforms, do us a favor. That little button that says share, go down there, put your thumb on top of it, mash it, share it to your streams, and let your people know that we're on talking college football here on a Friday night. We would greatly appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Oh yeah. So as Anthony said, we're gonna go ahead and move on off of Alabama. And Anthony, I'm coming to you, a segment that you created, living on the edge, coaches on the hot seat. So what you got, man?
Okay, so it's a little early. Generally, you don't get guys that are on the hot seat this early in the season. It's week 3. The guys that you see that are on the hot seat are guys whose performances may not have been so great over the last couple of years. And now this is the prove it or lose it season. I did not have this first guy. I did not have him anywhere on my radar. I wasn't even thinking about him, to be completely honest. I haven't really tracked the program since Pete Carroll was there with Matt Leonard and Reggie Bush. But after the second game, and I mean, it wasn't between Saturday night and Sunday morning, Clay Helton fired as the coach of University of Southern California, the Trojans. He managed to post a pedestrian record of, 46-24 is not that bad, but 46-24 at a program like USC with the history that USC has had and all of the college football greats that came out and became NFL greats, that became NFL greats. That some of which are Hall of Famers, with the caliber of the teams and especially with the expectation that Pete Carroll built up, the legacy that he left when he left. And granted, it's kind of a little shady about how he left, but hey, it is what it is. He's doing well in Seattle, but with the legacy that he left, it's hard to step in behind the shoes of somebody that has taken a program to the heights that it has been and produce less than stellar results. And so it brought in 2013, I think, Or actually, I think they fired the previous coach, and he coached the bowl game. So he coached the Trojans to a win in the Las Vegas Bowl in 2013. Came back full time as their coach of the 2015 season. He had a couple of good seasons. They finished second in the. They finished. Let's see. They had 10-3 season in 2016, 11-3 in 2017. They finished 5-1 in an abbreviated season last year. So not bad, but I mean, just the start that they were out to this year, gone. Didn't see that one coming. But that brings me to my candidates. This week's candidates for the living on the edge, sitting on the hot seat. I'm gonna go ahead and start with this guy. He was really on the hot seat after week one. He managed to stave off destruction after last week's win. Scott Frost at Nebraska. Scott Frost is currently on a salary of $5 million. He's the coach of the Nebraska Cornhuskers, a very storied and strongly historied NCAA football program, several national championships. But he's had a very paltry record. The 6-7 in 2016. He had I'm sorry, that's his record at UCF. That's where he came from. He came from UCF. He was 6-7 in 2016. Then he had the season where they wanted to claim the national championship, where they ran the table, and he was the media darling because he took this small school and turned them around down at UCF. So he left for Nebraska in 2018. He's had no more than 5 wins since he's been the coach at Nebraska. He's got a 381 win percentage. He's 38-28 overall. He was a player at Nebraska. That was one of the reasons they brought him back too. He's a hometown boy, done good. And then he shows up. And everybody that watches college football knows that there's maybe 2 marquee matchups, big matchups in week one. All of the major programs are playing cupcakes. The Nebraska Cornhuskers, for those of you that missed that game, they lost 42-14. I'm sorry. Oh, my bad. That was something different. They just got their butts handed to them by Illinois at home. And then to insult to injury, that 42-14 score, the next week, Illinois got their butts kicked 42-14 down in Charlottesville against the Cavaliers. So you mean to tell me that Illinois comes into your house and embarrasses you on national television and then turns around and goes down to UVA, who's kind of a middle-of-the-pack ACC team, and just got mollywopped? Yeah, he was on the hot seat, but he saved his butt last week. So Scott Frost on the hot seat right now. Is not as hot as it was after week one. We'll see after tomorrow's game. Second, I don't know. This guy, I don't know how this guy still has a job, but I would venture to say that he's on the hot seat right now. Ladies and gentlemen, a $4.1 million salary right up the road to Stillwater. We're talking about the mullet himself, Mike Gundy.
Yeah.
Mike Gundy, quarterback at Oklahoma State. He's got all kinds of passing. He's an all-time passing leader still to this day. He played with Barry Sanders and Thurman Thomas on a national championship team. He's got records for the most attempts without interceptions, and that record was not broken. For frame of reference, from the time that Mike Gundy left Oklahoma State until RG3 broke that record in 2008, he held not just the Oklahoma State record, he held the college football record for the most pass attempts without an interception. And that was almost 30. That was almost about 20-some odd years.
Yeah.
As a coach, he is 138-67, which is not a bad record. But he's only had 6 10-win seasons. 6. The 2 weeks ago, they almost got beat by Missouri State. Last week, it took a last-second touchdown for them to beat Tulsa. Tulsa, who is a bottom tier. I think they're in the Big 12. Bottom tier Big 12 team. That program, which is supposed to be the in-state rival, Matt, he's supposed to be like the in-state rival to Oklahoma University, to the Sooners. And they barely won their 2 games. So definitely, Mike Gundy, hey, mullet, get it together, baby. Last but not least, 2 years ago, this guy was the media darling of all of the NCAA. we watched his team. We watched the team that he inherited from his predecessor struggle, and then all of a sudden they started hitting on all cylinders. They ran the table. Their quarterback won the Heisman Trophy. Joe Burrow now, who by the way was impressive in the Bengals game, but we'll leave that to Let's Talk Football. But we're talking about those Tigers of LSU down in Baton Rouge. We're talking about the guy that everybody waited to see at the end of his press conference. Go dog, go Tigers, go Tigers, go Tigers.
Mm-hmm.
And Mr. Ed Orgeron. Ed Orgeron is a classic case of what have you done for me lately? He had that one really stellar season where everything clicked. And if memory serves, those were guys that he inherited, weren't they?
Yeah.
He inherited those guys. It's kind of Gus Malzahn inheriting from Auburn from Gene Chizik and being able to ride the coattails until all of his recruits left. Mm-hmm. And then we saw the real him. Yeah. Everybody loved Ed Orgeron. I was watching LSU games to say, well, hey, coach, tell us what you thought about the game. Well, you come out and do the thing, A2 crawfish, the hurricane, go Tigers. I loved them. I wanted to see, as much as I wanted UGA to win that year, I knew we were in a rebuilding season. But I was watching LSU. I was rooting for LSU, and I rooted for Ed Orgeron. And he won that national championship. And he said, "Screw my marriage, screw coaching." He got rid of his wife, got himself he's on his second trophy girlfriend since he got rid of his wife. But this year, since the national championship, he has gone 5-6. They finished last. The number one team, the reigning NCAA champion, finished last in their division in the SEC the following year. That is the worst case of worst to first. I don't know if I'm pretty sure there's still some feelings of goodwill for coach. But I would venture to say that if he doesn't right the ship this year, then they're going to start looking at restructuring his contract to maybe, he might get one more year. And God forbid if the wheels fall off again this year, he might not come back this year. But there's a hell of a buyout because he's getting paid $8.9 million.
I'm about to say, yeah, he getting paid some money.
The only coach in the SEC getting paid more money than Ed Orgeron is Nick Saban.
Mm-hmm.
So he's definitely he secured that they gave him a contract extension after the national championship. Well deserved. Now you got to earn your keep. So Ed Orgeron from LSU, Mike Gundy at Oklahoma State, and Scott Frost at Nebraska. You're all on the hot seat. Living on the edge. We're gonna have the music next week. So
I like that. And they definitely are. They definitely are, because you got to get the job done. You absolutely got to get the job done. All right, moving on. So
Mike, to answer the question, Gundy was at Oklahoma State with the national championship team.
When?
Didn't they not win a national championship when he was there?
Not when Barry Sanders was there.
He played with Barry Sanders.
Yeah, they didn't win, and Hartley Dykes and all those guys, but they didn't win a natty. Look at that.
Ladies and gentlemen, the importance of doing thorough research.
But no, they won. Because the year that Barry won the Heisman, they played Wyoming
all the years he was there, but we ain't gonna talk about that.
Barry. Barry didn't win it, but he won the Heisman. And Thurman, they were good I think they were better during Thurman's years, because Barry's years, it was just Barry, and Barry was amazing. He was incredible. But look, moving on, ladies and gentlemen, we got to look into teams to watch for. We talked about this a little bit earlier, and asking if anybody can beat Alabama. And I mentioned this team, and yes, I got my head bitten off. It's all gravy. I'm will bite it again.
You better not balance. If you telling me you get ready to sit there and say Cincinnati again, I swear, Lord, I'm gonna bring you all the L's and rain them down on your head. You just listen. You can change your name to James Todd Smith, because I'm gonna call you LL Cool J from here on out. You best not do it, Skip Bayless. You best not do it.
I'm gonna come out and say it. Check out Cincinnati, ladies and gentlemen. They're number 8 now. They're undefeated. Watch out for them. 2-0. They beat Fresno 31-24. Or no. They beat Murray State 42-7. They beat Miami of Ohio 49-14. I know it's gonna be easy in their conference. It's gonna be easy for them to win it up. But I think they're gonna do something this year, ladies and gentlemen.
Hold on. Remix, rewind. Who did they play again?
Hey, Murray State.
And
Miami of Ohio. Yeah, hey, that's right.
I think the Saints is playing on the TV in the next room because I keep wanting to scream, "Who that?"
Yeah. Definitely shout out to Cincinnati. They're gonna have. I think they're gonna have a good year in conference. But I do agree once they go up against a Power 5 team, I do think they're gonna struggle. I like them because they have a number of returning starters. Their quarterback Ritter returns. Solid quarterback, one of those a true dual threat type guy. They have a good situation, but mainly the reason why they're going to do good is similar to UCF when they had Dante Culpepper and Mackenzie Milton. Those type of years, they're not playing anybody. They're not going through the gauntlet of the SEC or the Big 12 or things like that. So when they get into the big name late year, January bowl games, that's when it's a struggle for them. But another team on that list, and I'm going to come to you on this, they just beat Ohio State. Them Ducks, them mighty Ducks of Oregon.
You know what? I like Oregon. I got a lot of respect for Oregon. I love what the Nike CEO, VP, whatever he is like an alum, right? I love what they've done with the uniforms and rebranding the school. But it would be nice as hell if Oregon had as many playoff wins as they did uniform combinations. Did I say that out loud?
Mm-hmm.
Oops, I did it again. No, seriously. Oregon is a good school, but we know what the deal is in the Pac-12. There really hasn't been a team in the Pac-12 to dominate in D1. And you got to really and unless I miss it, if I'm wrong, correct me. And I know because y'all have been getting me in the comments, but if I'm wrong, correct me. There has not been a team in the Pac-12 to dominate like that in D1 since the Pete Carroll era at USC.
Mm-hmm.
And if I'm wrong, and
it's been a while.
Oregon's had a couple runs. USC kind of tried to do it, but I'm just saying, they're going to be Pac-12 good. They're not going to be. I mean, they might. I'm not going to say never. Never say never. Never, ladies and gentlemen, never say never. Because the minute you say never is going to say, oh, it's going to happen. Right. They may at some point because you have teams that emerge. But right now, with what they're working with, that's where they're going to be. They're going to be the biggest, baddest bully in middle school. The minute they leave middle school and go to high school, they're going to get beat up by the high school bullies.
Oh yeah. Oh, without a doubt. Facts. Your boy Colin saying, and your boy Colin saying, what y'all think about Arkansas taking care of Texas?
Wait a minute.
Go ahead.
I'll tell you what I think about it.
Yeah.
The
horns went down on that one.
Texas say, I'm a big boy now. I'm gonna tell my mama why you do that. You had to hit me that hard. That's exactly how that went down. I'm sorry, I don't mean to be silly, but that was I got a good healthy belly laugh over that.
Yeah.
Oh, seriously.
They're not the same Texas. They're not your mom's, your dad's, your granddaddy's Texas team. All right, this isn't that dominant team. And honestly, I think this was more of the fact that Texas is. We saw Ellinger leave after last year, and he definitely brought a spark to the University of Texas. But I don't think at the transition period it has not been good. And Arkansas, another part of it is Arkansas is an SEC school. Those schools are built differently.
Frame of reference. I love this. That's a phrase I love to use. Frame of reference. Texas is supposed to be at least the second or third best team in the Big 12 right now. Arguably, just looking at all the teams in the Big 12. You got Oklahoma, obviously, at the top. And then it could be flip-flop year to year, whether it's Texas or whether it's Oklahoma State.
Right.
Texas, one of the top three teams in the Big 12, got their backsides handed to them by a low tier SEC. Arkansas is just a step above Vanderbilt in terms of their level of competitiveness in the SEC. And Arkansas was like, oh, we got this is what we playing. Oh, we gonna have some fun today, fellas.
They put in that work. Sure. Oh yeah, no doubt. No, hey, I got to shout out the people watching. David Wright talk about Pastor Handy. Please preach this to this man again on the merits of playing the pickup basketball at the local elementary school versus a local NBA team.
Pastor said he wasn't gonna come out today, ladies and gentlemen. But I guess I have to. See, sometimes these people think they're bigger than they are. Now, sometimes you got to be taken down just a peg. You understand what I'm saying? Now, I hate to keep using David and Goliath as my reference.
Preach it.
But Texas considered themselves Goliath and Arkansas was David. Now, if you remember what it say in the good book, Goliath was a big man. Big, broad, strong, 12 dozen eggs every day to help him get large, like Gaston. You understand what I'm saying? To touch your neighbor and say large like Gaston. Touch your neighbor on the other side, say large like Gaston. Oh yeah, Goliath was a big old boy. And Texas thought they were Goliath. And they saw on the other side of the river a young shepherd boy bringing lunch to his brothers on the battlefield. And David took him some smooth pebbles and picked them up and started jiggling them like sunflower seeds, like the old brothers you see down there at the juke joint, just jiggling the sunflower seeds. Went up there and went in there. And as soon as Goliath opened his mouth to say, I'm a whoop, he couldn't even get the rest of it out because David delayed him, slap out. Debo got knocked out by Craig. Rocky got knocked out by Mr. T. Sometimes you get too big for your britches and you gotta sit down. And that's what Arkansas did to Texas. Texas came in and said, I'm taking your lunch money. And Arkansas said, not today, my friend, because I got God in the SEC on my side. Yes, sir. There's a God somewhere. Texas chocolate. Chapter 72, verses 48. We're going to let the deacons take the collection now. I'm going to go on and let Anthony come back and finish the show.
David's talking about preach. Kobe, shout out to my guy Kobe Dant. Talk about Texas has the sixth best record in the Big 12 over the past 9 years of having those 10 teams since realignment. Yeah, absolutely, man. Yeah.
All you gotta do is look at Texas is supposed to be one of the preeminent. Texas was matter of fact, the first team I remember as a kid being exposed to from this area was the Texas Longhorns.
No doubt. Yeah.
Because that was the big program. And then I found out about Nebraska and Oklahoma. But that was the program. Like you always went, everything's bigger in Texas. And Texas went into Arkansas. And it's almost like when the big city slickers decided to go on that canoe trip and the toothless boy with the banjo and his boys showed them a little something different. You showed Arkansas looked at the Longhorns and said, you sure got a pretty mouth. Watch out that now. You might get some on you. Don't get me started today. Anyway, yeah.
And speaking of a team to watch for, what about your Bulldogs?
Oh, absolutely. The Dogs are arguably, just as Texas is arguably supposedly one of the top tier teams in the Big 12. I would venture to say, I love my Dogs. I'm not going to take anything away from Alabama. Alabama's at the top of the list in the SEC. But I will definitely say, since Mark Richt took the program over in the early 2000s and then handed it off to Kirby Smart, Georgia has gradually worked its way up from being the footstool for Florida every year, which we were for quite some time, to being beat up by teams like Auburn and losing close games to and losing close games to Tennessee and Kentucky has brought that program back to prominence, back to where it was when Vince Dooley had the school back in the 80s. And
shout out to Powell and say you're good for 10 wins.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. For the last 20 years, we're always good for 10 wins. And I swear to God, is the most frustrating thing about being a Georgia team is but for a pass interference call here or an offsides call there or a blown coverage here or there, we'd have at least, Colin, we'd have at least maybe 3 more championships, because there was the SEC championship that was Aaron Murray's last game, and there was some kind of we had a couple of penalties on that drive that put us out of range. And then there was, of course, the national championship game. Seriously, we'd have a lot more conference championships, and at least I'll say 2 more national championships, especially the one with the blown coverage that let Devontae Smith loose in the left corner of the end zone. And my heart still hurts watching Devontae score in the same corner of the end zone, getting a touchdown pass from Jalen Hurts against my Falcons. But that I'm in therapy for that. Pastor said I just got to pray a lot and say touch your neighbor and something like that, because he likes to say that a lot. I don't know what that is. We're gonna have to talk. The pastor's gonna have to get some help for that. You ain't supposed to be touching your neighbor all the time, Pastor. I'm just saying. But Georgia's definitely a team to look out for. Florida always bears watching, always, because even with Georgia being the dominant team in the East, Florida is always nipping right at our heels. A team that we need to look out for if they figure out a way to get some better recruits, because they got a good coach. The Aggies at A&M, at Texas A&M.
They won a close one last week against Colorado. They had their backup quarterback in there, and I mean he did anything he could. He had a poor game. That Colorado defense is definitely underrated, but they ended up pulling it out late. They have one of the players to watch for, Isaiah Spiller. Studs, pretty solid running back out of A&M. So definitely somebody to look at. But yeah, keep going.
And Jimbo's a good. There's no denying that Jimbo Fisher's a good coach. I mean, he's where he was at. Was he at with the Sun? He was
Florida State.
Yeah,
he was at Florida State with Mr. E to W.
Mr. E to W.
He was a successor to Bobby Bowden, and they won the national championship against Oregon.
Yeah. Oh, well, there you go. Well, Oregon they got at least one playoff win. I did say they needed to have more, though, because they got 800. It's a damn shame you got 872 outfits. You ain't been but to one ball. I'm just saying.
I think that was BCS. I think that was
that was the BCS era.
Yeah. So they won. They just had to win the Pac-12 and be, which, like you said, if USC is down and Stanford wasn't doing much, that wasn't major. Washington had a year or two, but
Yeah, but I mean, it's basically what you see in the top 25. I'm looking at that's probably going to be the de facto top 25 for the next few years, as long as there aren't any huge major coaching changes. That's what we're going to be looking at. So, but in 2021, I think on paper, Georgia's toughest game was Clemson. Tomorrow we play the Gamecocks, and we will be starting, I believe. I don't know if we're going back to JT because Stetson Bennett
questionable this week. Yeah,
Stetson Bennett, the mailman, he got hurt. He showed out. I think he must have blown his arm out because Lord knows he's. I think Stetson Bennett enrolled at the University of Georgia right after they caught the DC sniper, and he's still there playing. So that should tell you how long he's been there. Matter of fact, I think he enrolled right after the Matrix came out. Isn't it? He's been there for a minute. I'm joking. I'm joking. He's only been. I think he with the COVID not counting against his eligibility. I think he's still. Yeah. And then they redshirted him when he came back from JUCO, so he's good on eligibility. But I don't know who else. Well, Clemson could still be dangerous, but that's not the Clemson.
I don't think so. I don't think Clemson's going to come out of the ASC, honestly. The ACC.
Well, who else? Well, come on, man. Who else they got? Miami was supposed to get Miami. Miami's not going to do it. Florida State's not going to do it because Florida State.
Any given Saturday. I honestly believe I do. I mean, and it's not taking anything away from Georgia. I think you guys are definitely a dominant power with that defense. I'm just not trusting DJ. I'm not trusting. They have some players, but I feel like they're not turnover. They're not getting the turnover of players similar to an Alabama.
Right.
I think they're going to be fine. Yes. And in the ACC, they're going to be fine. But I don't think they get past like a Notre Dame. I think one of the lower teams gets an upset on them this year. I don't think they go undefeated.
Definitely, like if they wind up, is this the year that the new playoff takes effect, or is that on hold now because of conference realignment?
So with some, I know some haven't gone through. I think the ones that are coming into the SEC, I think they still have 2 years.
2025 actually, but they can go next year with a buyout.
Okay.
But I don't know. But my question is, I thought the new playoff system was supposed to take effect this year. I was trying to find out. But Notre Dame definitely, Notre Dame could definitely give Clemson the business the way they're playing this year.
Could happen. It could happen. The SEC is a sleeper. Is definitely a sleeper spot. And one other team I wanted to take a look at. Well, I'm excited how they've started. This definitely could be just a puff of smoke. But that one of the teams out of the Pac-12, the UCLA Bruins. They got first two teams. I know they beat Hawaii. You
mean the basketball school?
No, look. I understand it. And they haven't beat anybody. They beat a lowly LSU team and they beat a lowly Hawaii team. So I get that. But I've been watching them for years, and honestly, with how the Pac-12 is down, I think they can make a little noise over there. Now this might be just a puff of smoke.
Like I said, you could be they're gonna be they might be the baddest dude in the neighborhood, but don't come around on the wrong block.
All it takes is for one, because you see with the SEC, all it takes is for one of them teams to upset and then get in there and slide in there and somehow get past Alabama, or what we've noticed in the Final Four is it doesn't necessarily matter. The national championship game is one thing, but it also matters where you're seated because that first matchup could be huge. Let's not forget Alabama did not make it to the Final Two last year.
Alabama also.
It was last year. It was Clemson versus Ohio State. Now I don't think it's going to be Ohio State again this year. But
are you sure about that? Last year, Alabama won the national championship with Mac Jones as a quarterback.
Nah, I'm looking it up. I'm gonna look it up right now because last year is when Trevor Lawrence lost it.
Yes, because Alabama beat Clemson.
No, Ohio State.
Oh, Alabama beat Ohio State.
No, Ohio State beat Clemson.
No, Justin Fields did not win a national championship. Ohio State beat Clemson in the playoff round, and then Alabama beat Ohio State in the national championship.
Okay. All right.
I know I'm scatterbrained, but I remember Mac Jones with the cigar, and I remember all of that. Justin Fields walking around looking like he lost his puppy.
Oh, yeah.
But,
yeah.
So he went because Mac Jones went straight for the national championship, won the Heisman, won something else, then wound up being he wasn't the number one pick. No, he didn't win the Heisman. I'm sorry. Devontae won the Heisman, but he was a Heisman finalist, and he wound up being a high draft pick. So, but yeah, I just want to know in what world you think, even whatever way you seed it, that any team not named Georgia, possibly Auburn, Clemson, Clemson not this year, Georgia, maybe Auburn, Ohio State, Florida can beat Alabama in the playoffs this year. Based on what you've seen right now.
Yeah. In the playoff, honestly, yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right.
Because look, and Saban is a master at it. He just go out every week and go, well, they're a tough opponent, and we really have to prepare for them because they've got a great program and a great coach, and the kids work very hard and they're very dedicated. And Miss Terry told me that if I let my guard slip, then I don't get my Debbie cakes on Sunday. So boom, he goes out there and he psychs them out, and the other team comes out all hyped up, and they might come out and get a couple of first downs, and maybe score a touchdown, and then Alabama just lays the hammer on them and just knocks them slap the hell out.
Very true. Very true. Very true.
I mean, that's it. That's it. And as far as I mean, like I said, I think where we are with the top 25 is where we're going to be with the top 25. And it's probably going to be these same teams next year, unless there's some major coaching changes or some serious loss of key players. So, yeah. So what we got for the next segment, my brother?
Okay, cool. Marquee matchups for the weekend. You guys have South Carolina. How you feel about that? Bobby Will says go South Carolina. Comments.
I'm feeling pretty confident about Georgia and South Carolina. I'm Georgia over South Carolina. Few years back when Spurrier was, for some reason, Spurrier always had Georgia's number when he was at Florida and when he came back to South Carolina. And when he did the combat handoff to Muschamp, they kind of had a number for a minute too, but that was because Muschamp, again, inherited what Spurrier left behind. But now all those guys are gone. Yeah, it's a wrap. Mm-hmm. It's a wrap. I don't foresee us beating South Carolina as badly as we beat UAB, but I do think we come away winning comfortably. I say at least 2 scores, maybe 2 scores and a field goal.
Nice. I can see that happening for sure. Absolutely. Yeah. You also got let's see, Penn State and Auburn. What do you think about that one?
I think Auburn is going to embarrass people. They're playing in Happy Valley, aren't they?
Yep.
Yeah, I think Happy Valley. I think the fans at Happy Valley will be leaving shortly after the third quarter is over. And they might leave halfway through the third quarter. Again, it's one of those things where these kids jump up and say, "We want Bama, we want Bama." Everybody, look, Mike Tyson said a long time ago, everybody's got a plan until they get punched in the mouth. And even though Auburn is not the Auburn of the Cam Newton era with Gene Chizik, they're still Auburn.
Right, absolutely.
And Auburn is going to go into Penn State and show those guys how they play grown man ball in the SEC. Yeah, that's all I had to say. And then they had the audacity to come out. Did you see the news story? Oh, we're going to wear white T-shirts and have a whiteout at Happy Valley so we can confuse the Auburn players.
Like that's going to work. It's not going to work. It's not going to work. And lastly, you got the Alabama-Florida game. What do you think's going on there?
Alabama-Florida is definitely the game. Outside of Georgia, outside of Georgia, Florida. Outside of Georgia, South Carolina, that game is the one that I want to most keep my eyes on because, like I said, it's the last 20-some-odd years it's been Georgia-Florida flip-flopping in the East. And Florida is, if there's any team that can expose any chinks in the armor of the Crimson Tide, it'll be the Gators. And, as long as Dan Mullen keeps those boys coached up. I'm looking forward to that game because that game I think will dictate. That's not just, I'm talking like Georgia's already going to SEC championship, but because they are. But you heard it here first from your boy, Mr. Fingaz / Shay / Pastor Handy. They're going to the SEC championship, but Florida would be the team to expose how to beat Alabama. And one thing that Kirby does, he might not be a master tactician, but he's a stickler for freaking detail. And if Florida does anything that makes catches Bama off guard, he's gonna be taking notes. Yeah. So I mean, he won't be watching the game because we're playing tomorrow, but he's gonna be taking notes. Now, these are the games that I have that I think they might not be marquee matchups, but they are for me, and I'll explain why. Nebraska versus OU. We all know Oklahoma. We all know the Sooners are going to run the Huskers off the field. But that game, it has a lot of history behind it. Like I mentioned, that was always the indicator who was going to win the conference and potentially go to the national championship. And I've been living here 3 years now. Oklahoma has grown. I mean, you can't not get indoctrinated in some way because there's Boomer Sooner on everything. There's dealerships that are called Boomer or Sooner or combination of both, and you hear the on the radio on every commercial. The sports radio station has an exclusive deal where they broadcast. They've got 2 major universities in the area, and the only one that they broadcast is Oklahoma University. And so, and I think Lincoln Riley's done great things with the program. Plus that the dude is, I mean, the team as a whole has not reached nirvana yet, that Nick Saban level of nirvana. But one thing that Riley is good at, the dude is a freaking quarterback whisperer. If you don't believe me, he had 3 years running, had a Heisman finalist as a quarterback. A quarterback from his team is a Heisman finalist. Baker Mayfield won. Kyler Murray won. Both of them were number 1 draft picks. Jalen Hurts was a finalist. He was a high draft pick. And all 3 of them are starting quarterbacks in the NFL as of week 3. This guy, Spencer Rattler, they were saying, I think this is his sophomore year. So probably by the end of the season, probably by midseason, he's going to be in full stride. By end of the season, if they're still clicking on all cylinders, look out. And I'm looking forward to see what he can bring to the table next year. My next, you mentioned Bama versus Florida. My next matchup I'm going to be looking at, even if the game is not on, I'm going to be following the score of Tulsa versus Ohio State. On paper, Ohio State should win that game. But I want to see Ohio State promotes themselves as a national championship caliber team. I want to see how a team that thinks that they're a national champion bounces back after the loss they had last week. I want to see that. Also, I want to see what UNC does against the Wahoos, because at the beginning of the season, your Tar Heel, what's your quarterback's name?
Sam Howell.
Sam Howell. He was in the list of Heisman hopefuls. Apparently didn't look so good in week 1. They've managed to kind of sort of right the ship, and they're ranked. Where are they? They're ranked number 21 at 1-1. So I want to see what they're able to pull off against UVA, because that's an ACC matchup. So that's a crucial game. I don't know if they're in the same division in the conference or not, but they're not.
Yeah, they are.
Okay, so that's a crucial matchup. So that's one they got to win in order to be considered for conference championship. So I think for sure those are the games that I definitely want to keep an eye on, because I like you said, any given Saturday. So especially the last 2, I want to see how I'd be interested to see how Ohio State rebounds, and I definitely want to see what UNC does. They're on my watch list now, just because they said Heisman hopeful at the beginning of the season. So
no doubt. And lastly, I'm coming back to you for the HBCU Spotlight.
Yes, indeed. So, ladies and gentlemen, many of you know, for those of you that don't know, HBCU, historically black college and university, there are a goodly amount of players in the NFL that came in the NFL, black players, that didn't have the opportunity to go to an Alabama, USC, an Ohio State. So what they did was they went to black colleges and they played at these black colleges, and the NFL scouts happened to notice them and pick them up. I did mention before Shannon Sharp. Now, of course, by the time Shannon Sharp came along, all of the D1 was wide open. But Shannon Sharp played at an HBCU at Savannah State University in my hometown. It was an absolute pleasure getting to watch him play his college ball from the stands, and not on television. So I got to see him play before any of you did. Ha ha ha. But there are some other great players in the league. Jerry Rice, Steve McNair, we mentioned those guys. They all played at HBCUs and managed to get into the league and have incredible careers as NFL players. So each week we're going to spotlight an HBCU program. And I thought it would be fitting to start with one of the most historic and one of the most prolific HBCU football programs in American history, that being Grambling State University. Grambling State University was founded November 7th, 1901, as the Colored Industrial and Agriculture School just west of Grambling, Louisiana, by Charles Adams, who also was the school's first president. In 1905, the school moved to its current location and was renamed the North Louisiana Agricultural and Industrial School. By 1928, they were offering 2-year professional certificates and diplomas after becoming a state junior college, and then was renamed the Louisiana Negro Normal and Industrial Institute. Now, for those of you wondering what normal school is, that means that at that time, if a college had a designation of a normal school, that meant that the students that went there primarily went there to get certificates so they could learn, so they could become teachers. In 1946, the school was renamed Grambling College. In 1974, was granted university status and was renamed Grambling State University. The football program currently plays in Division I in the FCS division of the Southwest Athletic Conference. The team was founded in 1928. Their most prominent coach, you cannot say the words Grambling State without mentioning these two words, Eddie Robinson. Eddie Robinson led the team to 408 victories over 55 seasons. I want y'all to make sure you understand what I'm saying. 55 seasons. Frame of reference, there goes my favorite phrase again. I just turned 51 a few months ago. Eddie Robinson coached for 4 years longer than that. 51 seasons. He currently ranks number 3 on the all-time wins list for NCAA coaches with wins. He only is third behind Joe Paterno at 409 and John Gagliardari, who has 489. And just just to give you an idea of how big a deal that is, the next closest active coach on the list behind Eddie Robinson's win total is Mac Brown. And Mac Brown has 259 wins. And Nick Saban has 257. Just let that sink in for a minute. Grambling has won 26 conference championships, 19 of those under Eddie Robinson. 4 of them under an alumnus, whose name some of you may remember. He quarterbacked for the Washington Redskins, became the first African-American black man to quarterback in the Super Bowl with the then Washington Redskins, Doug Williams, and 15 HBCU national championships. They played the first collegiate football game in Asia. How about that for a piece of history? They played the first college game that was played in Asia. Grambling was a part of that. They played against Morgan State. Currently, Grambling has 5 college football Hall of Famers and 4 pro football Hall of Famers, being Willie Brown from the Raiders, Buck Buchanan of the Chiefs, Willie Davis of the Browns and Packers, and Charlie Joyner of the Chargers. Doug Williams himself was named the MVP of Super Bowl 22. Then some of their players that went on to play in the league, James Shaq Harris, who became the first black quarterback to play in all of pro football. We're talking current NFL, and then before when there was the AFL and the NFL playing separately, he was the first quarterback to start. He was the first black man to be named as a starting quarterback in all of pro football. Played for the Bills, the Rams, and the Chargers. For those of you that are wrestling fans, you may remember a name of a guy by the name of Ernie Ladd, the Big Cat. He played for the Chargers, the Oilers, and the Chiefs. So rich history behind the Grambling State University. And that, ladies, gentlemen, boys, and girls, has been your HBCU Spotlight for this week.
Nice. Absolutely. That was dope. That was nice. So yeah, stay tuned for more of those, and Anthony will definitely bring more HBCU spotlights in the coming weeks. Is there any other games you're looking forward to?
Tomorrow?
Yeah, tomorrow coming up.
Oh man, you know what? To be completely honest, I'm going to be too busy trying to keep up with all of these games to write down, to keep my notes so we can come back and do this next week to really think about anything that I'm excited about. Because generally, I'm not even going to lie to you, I get all the way worked up for the Georgia game. I mean, the whole nine. Colin, if he's still watching, can tell you it's a ritual. I mean, it's are we playing at home or are we playing in South Carolina? We are playing in South Carolina. So we don't have the whole home game ritual. But when there's a home game, we've got the whole battle hymn of the Bulldog Republic with the Glory, Glory to Old Georgia with Larry Muntz's narration. And then you've got the Red Coat Band, and you've got Krypton playing at the fourth quarter. And, you just got the whole – I get up for all of that, and since I can't be at the game, I have all the stuff queued up on my phone. I air tooth it to my TV, so I still get the battle hymn of the Bulldog Nation and Glory Glory and Who's That Coming Down the Track, the Mean Machine in red and black, Nothing Finer in the Land, and Drunk Obnoxious Bulldog Fan and Krypton in the fourth quarter, and the whole nine. Like I even play after every first down, I play on my phone. Like I'm at home, like I'm in Athens in Sanford Stadium. So, yeah, I by the time I get done watching that and keeping track of the marquee games, I'll have my stats and stuff together for you next Friday. But those are the games I'm most excited to see. You got anything else that really just jumps out at you?
No, I completely agree with what you were saying. I'm eager to see that Alabama-Florida game because I think the only way they're going to lose is if it's out of the SEC. So I definitely am looking forward to that one. So I completely agree with you.
Shout out to my boy Colin. Colin, how could I forget the dog walk? Like all of these are little things that have been added over the years. At a home game, the buses pull up. They pull up to the stadium and they get out and they start rocking them buses, man. And the buses look like they're gonna fall. They start rocking the buses, and the guys get out and they're all suited and booted, and they make that walk over to the facility, and everybody and the band's playing and people are reaching out trying to pat them on the back. It's like their rock star moment, like their red carpet moment. It is a huge, like that whole and the funny thing is that process evolved after the time when I was in school there, because all of that was part of it then.
Yeah.
So it's a huge big deal. Just like any place else has their rituals, like toilet paper and Toomer's Corner and all that stuff. A Georgia game is, and rest in peace to big dog Mike Woods. He would have the dog painted on his head, and he'd take pictures with any and everybody that wanted to take pictures. And now his son has carried on the tradition, and Sonny Seiler and Uga. And when he comes in and people just completely lose their mind, and Harry Dog in the costume, the Savage Gang with the spiked shoulder pads on I have seen all of that from inside the stadium on the sidelines. It is just a game day experience unlike anything that I look. I'm biased, but I'm just gonna tell you they got the best game day experience. Period. Hands down.
Nice. Absolutely. So yeah, definitely looking forward to that, and hopefully, that's definitely everything that's cracked up to be. I know that's a rivalry, Georgia, South Carolina, but that should be interesting. Definitely. You got anything else, Ben?
I'm good, brother. I can see you winding down. I know you put in your time and work today, and I'm winding down my work week too. So I'm still in my work clothes. You see, I had to let them know. I got a coworker. I was telling those of you still watching, I had a coworker that actually played for the Sooners, played with Boz, and I'm sorry. He likes to tell people. I asked him today, I said, "Oh man, you played with Boz?" He's like, correction. Boz played with me. That was my team. I was there before he got there. I was on that championship squad. That was my team.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, and then Larry Munson, the world's he wasn't on the major networks, but he was the absolute best radio announcer ever. He gave all those terms that you hear. He gave us that hunker down. He's like, but Colin, you're gonna have to help me. But he's like, dogs, I'm asking you to hunker down one more time. And the dogs are, and they're knocking on the door. I'm asking the dogs to hunker down one more time. And then he was reaching out to Dog Nation on the radio. And man, I was watching. I'd never forget. I was like 8 or 9. I'm the TV's on, but I'm listening to Larry Munson, and I got goosebumps. Like, are they gonna win, Dad? Are they gonna win? Like, in the radio, obviously, the TV's obviously ahead of the radio. It's like, I don't know, son, watch the TV. I want to listen to the radio, because Larry Munson was the dude. Like that you've seen the clip with Herschel Walker. My God, a freshman. It was phenomenal. Colin has a question for us from the crowd. What's the question, sir? How do I think Oklahoma is going to fare in the SEC? I think with the coaching staff that is in place and the immediate floodgate of they're just the fact that they're moving to the SEC is already going to ensure that they're going to get even more of the lion's share of the better recruits in the state and from surrounding. Well, maybe not from Arkansas, because Arkansas borders Oklahoma to the northeast, I believe it is, because we came through there coming here. The hobnail boot, yes, sir. They just stepped on the Volunteers' neck with a hobnail boot. I could do that all night. But I think that Oklahoma is going to get even more of the lion's share of the good talent in Oklahoma. Kids that coming from northeast Texas that want to play in Oklahoma. They're going to pull a lot of kids from up around the Stillwater, Tulsa area. So I think that Oklahoma will be okay. I think that in time, Oklahoma could potentially, depending on how long Lincoln sticks around, could become the competitor, the heir apparent to the throne in the West when the time comes for St. Nick to step down. Because Lincoln's a young dude. He's younger than me. Yeah. And as long as he keeps winning new conference championships, Oklahoma State, Mike Gundy's been at Oklahoma State since like Reagan was on TV going, honey, I forgot to duck. So, I do. I think Oklahoma will be just fine. Texas, I don't know. They'll probably get better. They're still going to be the big dog in the state. So they'll probably get better recruits as well, but not like Oklahoma. Everybody right now, you give a kid the choice between a middle of the road kid, the choice between going down south to Austin and coming up to Norman and playing for Lincoln. He'll probably say, I want to go play for Lincoln, because even if they don't win natties, they win first championships and their quarterbacks win Heismans. So,
right. Absolutely. I agree. I definitely agree.
That's all I got, man. I'm not going to keep you. Brother, I appreciate you for inviting me to be a part to create this.
It was you, man. It was your show, bro.
Yeah,
I'm just trying to help out.
It was your brainchild, though. It was your brainchild, and we talked about this a couple of weeks ago, and here we are. So those of y'all that hung out with us till the end, we really appreciate you. Tell your friends about this, because this is a great way to spend the Friday night having a couple of beers before the big games kick off on Saturday. I'm Anthony. I'm Mr. Fingaz. That right there, that handsome fellow over there, I have to point the opposite direction to get him. That's my partner in crime, the man, the shout out king, Mr. Big Grins and Pointy Fingers, Sean Spencer. Let's go. We do appreciate you for joining us today on this episode of Let's Talk College Football. We will be back next Friday, and y'all just keep tuning in and telling your folks, and we'll have more content. We're gonna work on our timing and stuff like that. We'll have some actual music and some sound effects and things like that, so we can have some stuff for you. I definitely like that. I want to keep that crazy, but we love y'all. Much love on behalf of myself and Sean Spencer. This has been Let's Talk College Football. We'll catch you next week.
All right, ladies and gentlemen.